Hi students, my name is Sakesh Shetty from AJ Engineering College. Today we will going to talk related to um, rainwater harvesting. This is module 5 and it's one of the important topic in water resource management, and we'll discuss about rainwater harvesting and what is the methods to save water. Everything we'll discuss about this topic. Before going to that rainwater harvesting chapter, we'll discuss about what do you mean by rainwater harvesting and what is the necessity. Everything we'll study. To on watershed basis, in the particular area, water it will capture water in the particular area. That is the basic concept of rainwater harvesting. That way, we can define rainwater harvesting. It is a process of collecting, conveying, and storing water from the rainfall for the beneficial use. It can be used for domestic purpose, agricultural purpose, or any other purpose. So, generally, the storage can be in tanks or reservoirs or underground storage or groundwater storage. So, we have already seen that uh, in India we have rainfall variation is much in monsoon season, that is in 3 4 month in the sun, which what we can say. If, if you consider our India, some location the more rainfall comes, some location 5000 millimeter rainfall comes, some location rainfall is say 20 centimeter, 200 mm, less than that. In that basis, rainfall availability one location and another location may it vary in huge variation takes place. So that reasons we need to make rainwater harvesting method. Necessity of rainwater harvesting method is temporal and spatial variation of rainfall and water availability. See, if you consider, for example, rainfall pattern in ISO land in rainfall pattern in Delhi, almost it's a more than 8 month variation. In Delhi, mainly the rainfall is only for 3 months, and average rainfall is about 700 mm per year. That way, rainwater harvesting is very important wherever the rainfall is less, and in that time harvest the rainfall and use in when it is shortage will comes. So, when we consider rainwater harvesting, say now rainwater harvesting can be used for our past centuries. Due to the negligence of rainwater harvesting from last few decades, the main location is, and the main we have got a lot of water related issues. So that way rainwater harvesting got new techniques to revise in large scale. Rainwater harvesting, uh, different technologies there to collect and store the rainwater to surface or catchment watershed basis using various techniques such as tanks, check dams, recharge through aquifer systems, as we discussed. We can see that since we collected the water in particular location, that way rainwater harvesting is the most promising alternative methods and supplying fresh water in the face of increasing water scarcity and escalating the demand. So we can see that due to the growing population and industrialization and then expanding our agriculture, that we need a lot of water. So as we discussed earlier, more than 70% of more than depend on agriculture. For that irrigation purpose we need more water, so we need to increase the yield. So that way rainwater harvesting is necessary. and its most important aspect. And any watershed management we should consider that. Let us see what is the basic components of the rainwater harvesting. First one of the method is most important components is precipitation, and it can be either rainfall or snowfall. Then collection of water from surface catchment, that is also one of the important. We already seen rainfall is converted runoff. This runoff is what we captured that yield from that catchment. Collection of water is rain surface catchment is very important component in land surface. Or then next, what water storage, next component. We want to store the water, collected water, either in tanks or reservoirs, or we can recharge through aquifer system. Water storage is whenever rainfall is there, some portion of the water we are trying to store the water for future use. That way storage can be, we can use for domestic purposes, agricultural purpose, or we can store in small reservoirs, or small tanks, or ponds. Most of the other tanks even recharge through aquifer system. That way we can utilize water. In next component is distribution of water. Once it is collected, we have to distribute water. It can be, say, small channel system or canal system or piping systems, or it can be pumping systems, groundwater. So these are the important components of the rainwater harvesting systems. Now let us discuss why we have to harvesting is necessary. We have already discussed about the aspects of rainwater harvesting. Now why it is necessary? Here in rainwater harvesting, copious amounts of water for average rainfall of 1000 mm, approximately 4 million liters of rainwater can be collected here in acre of land. 1 acre is equal to 4004 centimeter square. Post evaporation, 1000 mm is average rainfall. Approximately 4 million liters of rainwater can be collected. That is the advantages. So much water we can collect. It depends upon the system which we utilize. Then rainwater harvesting is neither energy intensive nor labor intensive. A cost-effective alternative to other water acquiring methods such as desalination of seawater and water transfer from one basin to another basin. Then no need of energy or electric power, this rainwater harvesting. And then once system is made, annual maintenance is not sufficient, not labor also, regular labor also not needed for this one. Another important is when and recharge the aquifer system. The water table falling rapidly, and with concrete buildings, paved car parks, business complexes, and landfill dumps, and taking the place of water bodies. Rainfall water irrigation is the most reliable solution for augmenting groundwater level to attain self-sufficiency in public distribution of water. So, groundwater is important role as far as the water plants any country. So, this water, if you overdraft, groundwater table drastically reduce. That way, we have to recharge whenever rainfall is there. Sufficient surplus water is there. Say, especially in the non-pervious area or built-up areas increasing, especially in cities or cities. That way, we can collect this water and use to recharge the aquifer system and utilize back to the groundwater, and we can attain the self-sufficient public distribution and of water. That is the advantages. These are the reasons why we are going to rainwater harvesting. So let us see what is the purposes of rainwater harvesting. Rainwater harvesting, following purposes mainly. One is agricultural and human consumption. Directly harvest the rainwater check dams, and then we can use agriculture purpose. And then just like cities, we can use the different rainwater harvest system, directly water collected, and rooftop method. We can go for human consumption. And other purpose is increase of groundwater recharge, as we discussed, and reduce the stormwater discharges, urban floods, and overloading of the sewage treatment plants. So we can recharge more water, aquifer system, surplus run, surplus runoff is reduced, reduce the urban flooding problems in the stormwater systems, reduces capacity, also reduce, go for more recharge aquifer system. That way it is advantages. Another advantage, reduce the sea water increase in coastal areas. Coastal areas, we can see that due to the overdraft of aquifer system, by pumping most of the time sea water due to the coastal aquifer system, if we can go for recharging rainwater, rainwater harvesting, some these areas, more water coming to the aquifer system, sea water trying to increase aquifer system, and we are having more fresh water most of the coastal aquifer system. That way we can utilize the rainwater harvesting methodology for reduce this seawater intrusion in coastal areas. Now we have seen necessity of rainwater harvesting, purposes of rainwater harvesting. Now various methodologies adopt for rainwater harvesting. Some of the important methodologies listed. So water harvesting undertaken through various methods. Some of the important methods we can discuss in the next slides. Catchment run of rooftop, direct rainwater collect from the rooftop, then with that can be stored in tanks on an appropriate way, then we can use for future use, or we can use for recharging purpose. That is generally called, that is water harvesting. Capture the rainwater. Second one is we can capture runoff from the local catchments, that we can call it as land harvesting. That we can, in city areas we can see pavements or gardens or etc. This water we can harvest appropriate way, appropriate in small channels, say sumps or small tanks, or and use for recharging purposes. Second methodology, we can capture the runoff, we can use for use for recharging land harvesting. Third one is capture seasonal floodwater from local streams. whatever Whatever it's coming from the river systems or runoffs, make it small check dams, and we can storage directly from that water, and also this can be utilized for recharging purpose, so that nearby aquifer systems recharge in these systems, rainwater harvesting. And also we can go for conserving water through watershed management. Watershed management, various practices are there, like land stream wise, land wise, we can follow the watershed management, rainwater harvesting. That is the one of the methodologies, especially for urban and industrial management, rural and land basis rainwater harvesting system. We can see that roof water techniques method, and This is we can say public, private office and industrial buildings in cities actually, and pavements, lawns, gardens and other open spaces that we can use it for in city systems, rainwater harvesting method. And next just like a lot of land is there in urban areas, pavements, gardens and other open spaces as we discussed. This water can we can collect it, either we can put it in a small pond or utilize allow this water to reach as aquifer systems. That way we can land available industrial or urban area and we can utilize. These are some of the important methodologies of the rainwater harvesting method. What is the advantages of rainwater harvesting? Let us look at the advantages of the. It will give. There are number of advantages is there rainwater harvesting, as far as disadvantages also, limitation also there. As such there is no limitation and almost its benefit that related. Advantages is provides rainwater harvesting provides self-sufficiency to water supply, as we discussed, reduces the cost for pumping of groundwater. When we are recharging, water level rises, that we can reduce the cost. Provides high quality of water, soft and low in minerals, especially in industry hard water is issue, and in the rainwater soft water we can utilize directly, and the quality of rainwater is very high. Improves the quality of groundwater through dilution when recharged to groundwater. Says especially some areas wherever groundwater pollution is there, recharge a good amount of rainwater, then dilution takes place, then that groundwater and self purification is getting, and it's getting better. The soil erosion in urban, reduce the soil erosion in urban areas. Various structures constructed for rainwater harvesting reduces the soil erosion. Rooftop rooftop rainwater harvesting is less expensive. In the cost analysis, we can see that it is less expensive consideration, and rainwater harvesting systems are simple, which can be adapted by individuals. There is no complicated technology in the rainwater harvesting. We can easily adapt it for rooftop rainwater harvesting system are easy to construct, operate and maintain. So it is simple design and easy to construct and operate and maintain harvesting methods. And other important advantages are in hilly terrains, rainwater harvesting is preferred. There we can especially slope is very high, and most of the water drain out because slope is, and we can store that water. And saline or coastal areas, rainwater provides good quality of water, and when recharged to groundwater, it reduces the salinity and also helps in maintaining the balance between the fresh saline water interface. Reduce the salinity, and it increase the quality of water. And in islands, due to the limited extent of fresh water, aquifers rainwater harvesting is the most preferred source of water for domestic use, especially in islands wherever surroundings areas. Four sides are surrounded by sea. Aquifers, coastal sides may be affected by saline water. There we can directly rainwater harvesting method and utilize the water for domestic use. In desert where rainfall is low, rainwater harvesting has been providing relief to people. The rainfall is only source in the desert. In that we will make rainwater harvesting and use it for further use, future use. This way we can only advantages is there for the rainwater harvesting concern. And even though it's in the beginning we need to invest more money, and after that it's not necessary to invest more money also, and it's less expensive way of water conservation method. and this is the techniques, just explanation related to the rainwater harvesting. And first we'll go for this is an explanation I have given for you what is rainwater harvesting. And this is the rainwater harvesting technology used for collecting and storing rainwater from rooftops and land surface or rock catchment using simple techniques such as jars or pots, as well as more complex techniques such as underground systems. Rainwater harvesting is a technology used for collecting and storing rainwater from rooftops. I said no, that is one of the techniques, the collecting water from the rooftops and the land surface or rock catchments. Even though land surface also, if it is slope, if it is hilly region, there is lot of slope is there, more slope is there. In that time, the water will collect, more water we can collect, and we can use it for harvesting methods, and which is a simple techniques. It's not having a huge complicated techniques. So that is simple techniques, and such as jars, small jars also we can collect rainwater. It means pots, as well as more complex. It means how we can collect the jars water from the rainwater collector, and we can store water for our public use. The same time, the same like more complex structure, it is a same method how we can collect the water from the jars in the rain time, and the same concept using in our daily day life also. So we will make one small ponds or pits. In that method we can collect the water, and we can use that water for future use. So these techniques we are using, it's not a complex technique, it's easy techniques for conserve the water. And rainwater harvesting is the accumulation and deposition of rainwater for reuse on site rather than allowing runoff. What will happen if you are not collect the water will not stay. It will go infiltrate into the soil, and some water it will converting it as runoff. So that reasons the rainwater harvesting is the accumulation and deposition of rainwater for reuse on site. So what is the major work we should do? No, whenever water comes, no, whenever rainfall comes, we should collect that water. That way is only we can store the water, and we can collect that water, and we can save that water for our future use. So it will automatically, it will increase the aquifer recharge. It takes place, aquifer recharge takes place. It will increase the groundwater level. The more benefit is there. So that reason rainwater harvesting is the more necessity in day to day life, because it will create a lot of increase of lot of benefit for our future use, and also in the future generation. And because we can say that in our rainwater harvesting method only, we can increase the groundwater table. Because what happens to a lot of urbanization, often industrialization, groundwater day to day, the groundwater is the groundwater depletion takes place. That reasons we need to overcome that one. So the rainwater harvesting is must necessary for our future use. So next, uses of rainwater: recharge under groundwater. So we can make recharge, groundwater recharge, and increase the groundwater. It will increase the groundwater table, and that is also we can use. And gardening, in gardening also we can use that water, and livestock, and use for animal bath, or for washing of our what we can say, uh, what we are what we are we can say livestock, what we are daily day use, what we no other purpose, right? And that also we can use for the rainwater. And drinking purpose also we can use that rainwater. We can use in different technique method, and we can use for drink, and for irrigation purpose also use that water. So the advantages: rainwater technologies are simple to install and operate. Local people can be easily trained to implement such as technologies, and construction materials are also readily available, and running costs are also and are almost negligible. Water collected from roof catchments usually if acceptable quality for domestic purposes. That is one of the important. Rainwater harvesting technology are simple to install and operate. Rainwater harvesting method, it's very simple method to install and operate. It's very simple method, and local people can be easily trained to implement such as technologies, and construction materials are readily available. Running costs and are also are almost negligible. And Water collected from roof catchments usually is of acceptable quality of domestic purposes. Because it's as we discussed before, in the rainwater harvesting method, only advantage there, no disadvantage is there. Disadvantage is only, we can say, initial cost, that is also not much more, and remaining everything is advantages only. And because it's very simple install and simple techniques is there to install the rainwater collection. As we said, no, how we collecting water from the jars, or in the same method we can, rainwater harvesting we can collect it, and local people can be easily trained to implement such as technology, and construction materials are also readily available. Here there is not high technology or high construction material we are using for that develop the rainwater harvesting. So we can use in locally available material, and we can make it, and running cost also are almost negligible. Here that daily monitoring is also not necessary, so that reasons daily maintenance cost is also not necessary, and daily labor cost is also not required for this one. So that reasons running cost is very less. Water collected from roof catchments usually is of acceptable quality for domestic purposes. So water collected from roof catchments usually is of accepted quality for domestic. We can, water we are collecting from roof water, that that is very much enough for our domestic purposes. So that enough quantity of water we are collecting from that rooftop water. The who's the, in this which area we are facing a lot of scarcity of water, that people they can use this water for their domestic purposes. So that is important. And how we can harvest rainwater? So we can, the different methods is there, rainwater harvesting. So one is surface runoff harvesting, another one is rooftop rainwater harvesting. Surface runoff harvesting: in urban areas, rainwater flows away as surface runoff. This runoff could be caught and used for recharging aquifers by adapting appropriate methods. So if here in urban, especially in we can say the urban areas, how we can make it, rainwater flows away as surface runoff, because there is a concreting road or a lot of urbanization, lot of buildings is there. So what means, it will converting it as runoff directly. This runoff could be caught and used for recharging aquifers by adapting appropriate methods. What we can use this water, we can collect it in separate way and separate distance where the space is available. In there we can collect the water and we can recharge the aquifers. So this means the surface runoff water harvesting. It is a system of catching rainwater where it falls. In rooftop harvesting, the roof becomes the catchment and the rainwater is collected from the roof of the house building. This method is less expensive and very effective. In this system, we can, the main method is rooftop collecting. Then urbanization, a lot of urbanization is there. In vegetation or in rural areas, what happens when rain falls, it directly infiltrates in the soil. But in urban areas, it's not possible directly infiltrate into the soil. So that water will collect, the water is infiltrated into the soil and it will increase the groundwater recharge. So that time what we can, but here urban areas, that only roof catchment, we can say that rooftop is only catchment. So water will collect from the rooftop, and that rainwater collected from the roof of the house or building, and we can use it for our recharge purpose. And this is not a much expensive method, and it is this method is very effective. So next, components of the roof top rainwater harvesting. What is the catchment? What we know that the components of the rooftop rainwater harvesting system is, one is catchment area, and second one is transportation, and first plus, and storage system, and delivery system, and filter system. This is the different components of the rooftop rainwater harvesting system. Then how we will discuss one by one. The surface of the receives rainfall directly is the catchment of rainwater harvesting system. It may be terrace or courtyard or paved or unpaved open ground. So this is the surface. Catchment area is the one of the what we can say, the surface of total water draining to the place, that is called catchment area. The surface that receives rainfall directly is the catchment. Where the water we are collecting, that place is called catchment of rainwater harvesting system. It may be terrace, outyard or paved or unpaved open ground. And transportation: rainwater from rooftop should be carried through the down take water pipes or drains to storage or harvestation. Water pipe should be UV resistant of required capacity. So here that some condition is there. Rainwater from the rooftop should be carried through down take water pipes or drains to storage. So it means the water should pass by gravity, and water will collecting that one, and water pump should be UV resistance. We should use that UV resistant pipes of required capacity. So we can, it means PVC pipes are UV ultraviolet resistance, and IS HDP pipes also resistant pipe. And first plus, we can say that another one is first plus is a device used for flush of the water received in first shower, and the first shower of rains needs to be flushed off to avoid contaminating storable rechargeable water by the probable contaminants of the atmosphere and the catchment roof. It will also help cleaning of silt and other material deposited on roof during dry seasons. Provisions of the first rain separator should be made at outlet of each drain pipe. So we need to make whatever the rainfall comes, the first plus it is not pure water, because it contains more silt and water, we can't store that water. So the first water we need to use for that, in all the provisions we should make, the first water rain separator should be made outlet of each drain pipe. Each drain pipe we need to make that one system to filter that all the silt depositions in that first water. First plus, what is storage system? All collected rainwater are stored in tank or barrels. That storage water we can collect in tanks or barrels. Small tank we can construct below the ground surface, and we can store that water in tank or barrels. And delivery system, how we can deliver the system? It is system to deliver of water for users. There are uses of pumps to take out water from tank and deliver for many purposes. Water is delivered by pipes. So this, after that collecting, we should deliver the water. So there are uses of pumps. Sometimes what happens, water we should lift, in that time we can use the pumps to take out from the tank and deliver for many purposes. We can use for domestic purpose, industrial purpose, or agricultural purpose. So use for water. Filtration system, and that is also more important point is filtration. Water we need to filter. So filters are used for treatment of water to effectively remove turbidity, color, and microorganisms. After the first flushing of rainfall, water should pass through the filters. There are different types of filters in practice, but basic function is to purify water. The filtration is the basic function is to purify water. Main concern is we need to purify the water. So that reason different system is sand gravel filter. These are commonly used for filters constructed by brick masonry and filtered by pebbles, gravel, and sand as shown in the figure. Each layer should be separated by wire mesh. So each layer we are placing that every thickness of the layer, below that we are placing wire mesh, and it will filter all the water and will get the pure water. And charcoal filter, that is also one of the method. Charcoal filters can be made in situ or in a drum. Pebbles, gravel, sand, and charcoal as shown in the figure should be fill the drum or chamber. Each layer should be separated by wire mesh. Thin layer of charcoal used to absorb the odor refined. This is also one of the method. And PVC pipe filter, this filter can be made by PVC pipe of 1 to 1.2 meter length. Diameter of pipe depends on the area of the roof. 6 inches dia. Pipe is enough for 1500 square feet. Roof and 8 inches dia. Pipe should be used for roofs more than 1500 square feet. Pipe is divided into 3 compartments by wire mesh. This also we can say that they are keeping the wire mesh, and all the silt will stop it in there at wire mesh only. We will get the last purified water in that PVC filter. So this is one of the method we can say. Another one is recharge groundwater aquifers. This is also one of techniques we should use for recharging groundwater. Aquifers recharging is very important to increase the groundwater table, and we can say that how we can improve the groundwater table aquifers, how we can increase the recharge. As per rainwater harvesting, different techniques we have studied are available, and some of the important techniques are as we decided, and accordingly we can say that one, before going to that one, we can say the areas, different areas. We can say the first one is topography also is important for that one. Topography also method, and it is topography means availability of land, and slope, what is the slope of the land, and what is the structures is there in that area. Built up area is also considered. We can go for tanks and simple tanks, and rooftop harvesting also we can go in if it is urban area, and wells of radiated wells, and parking and lot storage, and recreational park ponds. Various scheme we can develop in built up areas. Open areas, we can say we can go for percolation ponds and infiltration galleries, and community wells, and farm ponds, and ducts, and that we can use it for open pond. That we can use it for open wells, and we can construct infiltrate galleries, community wells, and farm ponds, ducts, and aqueducts across the streams. There are various techniques available as per the rainwater harvesting concern. Depending upon the area, depending on the requirements, depending on the money, we can use and we choose and particular technique for that particular location. Depends on what is the use of the rainwater harvesting. Rainwater what is harvested for the for whether it is domestic consumption or agriculture purpose or gardening. Accordingly, we need good quality of water. Quality also, if it is agriculture purpose, garden purpose, quality is not a main concern. So we can use for appropriate technology for rainwater harvesting. Then that we can use for method. Now let us how much water can harvest. For example, particular area concerned, particular watershed concerned, rainwater harvesting potential. So water yield from catchment depends on amount of rainfall, watershed shape, slope, types of soil and vegetation, and the evapotranspiration ratio. So accordingly, rainwater harvesting potential varies, depends on the area, how much is the rainfall, and how much the intensity, and what is the duration, and what is the slope of the land, then what kind of soil. Infiltration is depends on soil type, and vegetation of the area. Evapotranspiration depends upon that. Accordingly, depending upon vegetative cover, vegetative management, we do such way that improved management of vegetation mainly applicable for large areas. Water yield from grass cover more than the forest cover. Depend on the area, vegetative management is important. And also go for land alteration. What it's depend on open space or built up land. Accordingly, rainwater harvesting is varies. Alternative land surfaces changes pervious to pervious, and lot of changes will takes place. Runoff it's increase pervious to impervious. Laying of paved surface, sloping catchment along with the drains and their sides. Accordingly, for example, nowadays pave, forest make recharge, and paved surface is not will takes much recharge, and we can do the land alteration for that. Collection of catchment in runoff in storage tanks, depending on the area we can do. Then say method is preferably land surface undulating, depending upon the catchments, depending on the rainfall conditions, depending upon the vegetation. Rainwater harvesting potential varies one location to another location. Accordingly, we have to be identify what will be the potential rainwater harvesting or the particular area concern. So now let us looking hydrological aspects also important. Mainly important components is precipitation, as we discussed, snowfall, runoff, what is coming from the hydrological aspects is very more important as far as the rainwater harvesting concerned. So as we discussed earlier, hydrology is study of water, and there's the plenty of water is there, and it's the right place and right time, right quality. So what we already discussed through hydrologic studies, we trying to understand complex water system, the earth, we are trying to solve various water related problems, such as like how much water can be harvested, how it can be harvested, so it's like that. As far as hydrology concern is, as we discussed, rainfall is the main source of water. We are trying to utilize different ways. Hydrological cycle, as we discussed earlier also, that is one of the important aspects, what is happening with respect to rainfall to runoff, and passing on the one of sea and evapotranspiration condensation. So in a hydrological cycle, say water is change in one phase to another phase, hydrosphere balance of on the earth really constant, in the particular time. Population is increasing, water demand is increasing, agriculture is increasing, but water availability, it is almost remains constant over time. That way we have to use judiciously, such way that with respect to availability of water we have to manage demand. That ways hydraulic study is very much important for that rainwater harvesting techniques in for a particular area. So as I mentioned that hydrological studies, we have to see that how much runoff potential is in the particular area. Rainfall to runoff, we have already seen that various processes there with respect to rainfall to runoff. Various processes such as evaporation, transpiration, infiltration, interception, percolation, like that, various processes there. So that we have to consider when we go for rainwater harvesting. Various processes, pathways determine how fast precipitation becomes stream flow converted to runoff. So some of the important factor is this, as we discussed, are precipitation form, intensity, duration of the precipitation, distribution of the precipitation, and with an area within a watershed, and then and also depends upon how much is the water storage, especially in soil moisture and saturated areas. How much area is saturated. Once soil is saturated, then only water runoff starts. Flow pathway, example, shallow soil layer versus deeper soil layer, or overland surface or subsurfaces, like that. Slow path is very important in the rainfall, converted to rainfall, and then spatial distribution and agro features. So of the geology of the area, what is the geomorphology, what is the pattern of the area, depending upon this, the rainfall and runoff conversion takes place, and then we will be the save the water, identify the how much is the possible storage. Then also we can see that meteorological factors very important. Precipitation, most of the time is depending upon the precipitation. So precipitation is the main source of the water, as per the rainwater concerning. Type of precipitation, rain or snow, rainfall intensity, how intensity, whether it is intensity is very high or low intensity, that we can identify how much is the amount, and duration, and distribution of rainfall over the drainage basin, and direction of storm movement, precipitation that occurred earlier, and resulting soil moisture. So this depends upon the runoff conversion, rainfall to runoff depends upon the infiltration. The soil moisture is already there in the previous rainfall. Then we can see that runoff generation will be faster. That way, these are the most important issues we have to discuss as far as the rainfall to runoff conversion. Now, within this perspective, let us discuss, as far as the rainfall harvesting concerned, how much how water can be harvested. That discuss for the particular topic. When the rainwater is converted to runoff, the total amount of water that is received in the form of rainfall over the area is called rainwater endowment of that area. So rain endowment means total amount of rainfall, say takes place in that particular area. Out of this, the amount of that effectively harvested is called harvesting potential particular area. When we design a rainwater harvesting system, say must we have to see what is the endowment, and we have to identify the what is the rainwater harvesting potential as far as the area concerned. So rainwater harvesting potential we can put as that is equal to rainfall into the collection efficiency. We can see that number of losses is there, evaporation is there, infiltration is there, collection related problem is there. So according to that, water harvesting potential is depends on rainfall and collection efficiency. So that is equal to rainfall multiplied by the collection effective. Collection efficiency accounts for the fact that all rainwater falling over an area cannot be effectively harvested because of evaporation, spillage, etc. That way we have to account factor called runoff coefficient. Generally, in most of the design in rainwater harvesting, take coefficient called runoff coefficient. Then we can utilize this coefficient to identify the how much the water harvesting potential for that particular area. And this is the one small description related to that one. And I can say that one next, recharging groundwater aquifers. How we can recharge the groundwater aquifers? Commonly used recharging methods are recharging of bore wells, and recharging of dug wells, and recharge pits, and recharge trenches, and percolation tanks. We'll go for one recharging of bore wells, because that is when you just use one small tank related to the or valve when we are collecting the roof water. From that, just we use one small tank, that or wall, that water we can collect it from that tank, and that water 50 dia pipes is connected to for that borewell pipe. And that is one of the method to increase the recharge the hand pumps, or also there is one of the method recharge the aquifer. This is the simplest method and simplest technique to recharge the bore wells, and it will improve the groundwater treasures, groundwater recharge, groundwater table, and also increase the aquifer system, recharge the aquifer system. And recharge pit is this very common method, recharge pits, and we can collect the water from the rooftops and fill it with pebbles and gravel, because for the purification water, and we can collect the water, and it will improve the aquifer system and increase the groundwater table and recharge the groundwater. So this is the one of the method. And so way or recharge shafts, this is also one of the method to increase the groundwater table. So here filter bed sums 60 centimeter 60 centimeter 60 centimeter we use, and inlet we are using to collect the water, and perforated cover we are placing on the top of the tanks. And recharging of dug wells, this is also one of the important and easy method to collect the water, and we can collect all the water. RCC slabs we are placing, and collect all the water, and we can connect place it one big bore wells, open bore wells. All the water we can collect it from that pass it from bore wells, and it will increase the groundwater table. Why do people harvest rainwater? Rainwater is a precious resource due to increase in the demand from our ever growing population. Changes in the rainfall pattern in the UK have been both drought condition and flooding. Rainwater harvesting can provide around 50% of family water needs. This is not only saves water but saves money and reduces our impact on the environment. Two, this is one of the method that reasons each and everyone should do the rainwater harvesting method. So that only we can increase the groundwater table and increase groundwater change. All the rainwater watering we cannot collect. Some rainfall is lost by evaporation or infiltration or retention, like that. So we need to convert that units as storage. So that reasons we need to rainwater harvesting is very much important. So rainwater harvesting is very much important, because depending upon the rainfall pattern, depending on the demand, uh, and depending on the location, we can design the particular rainwater harvesting systems for the desired requirement for the particular area. And hydrogeological of the area, nature of extent of aquifer, soil cover, topography, and example, geology of India is diverse as its geography and people. It contains rocks covering almost the entire spectrum of the geological time scale. And water, as I mentioned, main source is infiltration takes place, recharge to the aquifer system. So water resources result is hydrogeology. Some of the important parameters we have to consider in the process of this kind of infiltration or percolation in the aquifer system depends on the soil thickness, distribution of rocks, networks, rocks, recharge areas, discharge locations, and general directions of groundwater, fluid flow characteristic of main aquifer types, including yield, ground features, linears. All these we have to study in details before going to the rainwater harvesting design is in the groundwater recharge or aquifer recharge. We have to see that geological patterns of the location, especially watershed basins. So we have to see the soil patterns, geological patterns, soil thickness. All these we have to see while designing appropriate rainwater harvesting structures, especially for groundwater recharge. For example, hydrogeologically map we need to, if you considering hydrological, if you see the hydrological map, depending on the location, hydrogeology changes according to that rainwater harvesting recharge also it will vary. Then recharging rate also vary. So as we discussed, groundwater is a major source of water supply in many parts of the world. Groundwater collects in aquifers over thousands of years through infiltration and groundwater flow recharge. A particular amount of groundwater is replenished regularly through rainwater infiltration. Natural infiltration takes place, and artificial will say increase the recharge sustainable use of at the rate of replenishment through recharge. Sustainable use of groundwater means and we can say fluid flow characteristic of main aquifer type including yield and soil thickness also one of the important parameter when we considering related to that one rainwater harvesting methods. And sustainable use of groundwater means withdrawal of groundwater at a rate at which it is represented through recharge. And so as per rainwater harvesting structures, especially recharge concerned, depends upon the area, depends on area location. We can have various structure, storage of rainwater on a surface for future use, that is rainwater harvesting room, recharge to groundwater, to pits and trenches and dug wells, hand pumps as we discussed, and recharge shafts and lateral shafts with the bore wells as we discussed one. This all various techniques we can use for rainwater method harvesting method, especially for artificial method. And so so while we doing the artificial recharge, we need to find out how much water recharge takes place. That is also different method is there to estimation of groundwater recharge, that we will discuss in that this chapter. It's not heavy, for you can refer Subramanya book, we will get it how much water recharge takes place. And In the state of Tamil Nadu, rainwater harvesting was made compulsory for every building to avoid groundwater depletion. And in Rajasthan, rainwater harvesting has traditionally been practiced by the people of the Thar district. Because in Tamil Nadu, their people are facing lot of water scarcity issue. So that reasons they rainwater harvesting is they made must for each house. So that is very important in this scenario, because we are facing lot of rainwater the water scarcity. So in this situation, if this kind of system they are developed in each state, it will beneficiary for all who is facing water scarcity problem, and for our future use also. So that reasons this is very much important to implementing this kind of systems. So and next we'll go for Rajasthan also, the referred. We can say that one average rainfall in what we can is very less in the some places. In that places we need to consider rainwater harvest and moisture deficiency January to May. In that time, where it's facing, that also rainfall is important. With the help of in different agencies, their research people they are measured, and so so that is solution for this constructing large sum storage dam also one of the rainwater harvesting method. And water conservation and groundwater resource techniques. Water harvesting can supplementary irrigation techniques. Rainwater harvesting inventors includes contour trenches, gully plugging, vegetative and field budding, check dams and percolation tanks, etc. So and the impacts, this is this impacts is takes place, and it's very much useful when we're doing the rainwater harvesting method. So thank you very much for watching this.